Okay, good morning, Ross.
Good morning, Sherman.
How are you doing today?
Doing well, thank you. Yeah, everything's going well.
Good. Well, I'm here with Ross McElroy. Ross is one of the leading geologists in Canada, if not worldwide. I've had a strong relationship with Ross over many years. In particular, we started our relationship with Ross's role as the president of Fission Uranium, and we're going to get to some of Ross's role with Fission Uranium and also with SKRR exploration, both companies which have wonderful assets in Saskatchewan. But really, the purpose of the call today was, for listeners to get a bit of time with myself. I'm Sherman Dahl with the Pretium Group and Investing with Awareness, and then Ross McElroy, who's one of the leading geologists in Canada. So, we're just going to have some fun and a bit of an interview, a state of the nation. Ross and I have not been able to see each other a lot face to face because of COVID, but we're looking forward to a super busy. Maybe just give our listeners a sense of how busy your schedule is going to be the next couple of months, Ross.
It's busy. I know throughout the month of May, probably touch base in my actual home for about 1 or 2 days out of 30 or 31, whatever makes up May. So it's really on the road, and I think a good part of that is the fact that with the COVID pandemic now mostly behind us and things really opening up. This business is, it's a lot of face to face, and I'm starting to travel again. So that it'll be busy, but busy means good in this business.
Well, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I'm looking forward to, I've stayed on the road as much as I can. Probably a little bit more than average. I was at the Beaver Creek show, and there was only maybe like a third of the people that were there, and the shows are starting to slowly really build up. And I just was one of those early guys out that I thought, well, I'll make the best of it, and it turned out pretty good. Some of the shows, it was there was less crowd, so if you were after certain meetings and you wanted to get into certain cocktail parties, it was a little bit easier. But I guess part of what I wanted to chat about today is just your sort of view, globally as to how you see things shaping up in the world. I mean, one of the major themes that we've been focused on is the electrification of the world. What that means for investors. I think there's a once in a lifetime opportunity as we go green in terms of investing in particular the base metal and the strategic metals. And I mean, obviously, with your role at Fission, Ross, you've always been a real proponent of uranium, and obviously nuclear is something that we're going to need. It creates a base load of 20-30%. I'm not sure the exact number now, but as we become more electric, what does that mean for the uranium business and for investors?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. It was probably a little ahead of the curve. I've been started off my career in the uranium sector in the mid 1980s, and it was pretty apparent, at least to the insiders in the business, that nuclear was a clean energy. It was always touted as much, but somehow or another that I'm not sure that message really got out to the degree that it should have. But what we've and I mean, nuclear has been an important part of the overall global mix of energy, and it continues to grow. But I think we saw some real fundamental changes probably around 2 years ago, when there was a real emphasis from, on most countries' basis, understanding that climate change is real and that we do have to have alternate ways to produce electricity that get us off the fossil fuel train. And so what are those options? They're actually kind of limited. There's a lot of different types. There's wind, there's solar, there's every part has its play, but nuclear is such an important part. But we just see the demand for electricity continues to grow. The more things we're plugging in, you're plugging in your phone every day. People are starting to plug in cars. It's just electrification is really the way that things are going. And clean energy is such an important part. You need to be able to generate that power, that electricity in a clean manner, in order to circumvent the issues we have around climate change. So that's where nuclear fits, and I think it's been reflective. The price of the commodities obviously doing quite well. It's up probably threefold from its lows a few years ago from where it's trading right now. But we think that it's just starting. We think there's a real bull run underway, and it's going to be long lived, and I think it's going to be an exciting time for not only nuclear but anybody in the whole clean energy sector.
Yeah, those are good points. And I mean, Rick Rule has always followed your company and followed your entire career, and I know he's always been a huge fan of uranium. And I think investors forget that maybe you've got some comments on that, but when uranium takes off, it's typically the uranium stocks end up being some of the best performing stocks on the globe. Yeah,
well, Rick's often made the point that he's done very well in the investment business. I mean, anybody that follows Rick is realizing he's been one of the most successful investors out there, particularly focusing on the mining sector. And he's often made the point that he's made most of his gains in uranium. I think his big gains were back in the uranium bull market that we had in the early 2000s, 2003 or 4, when it was really starting to take off. And it was on its way, moving quite high until the global recession 2008, and and a few other events along the way that took it off. Were like obstacles or road bumps in the way, and yet the demand for clean electricity and actually nuclear generated power has continued to grow almost consistently throughout even all the the slow times in the sector. And I think the mining stocks are really just starting to catch up. So demand has always been there. Supply, when you have low prices, supply really gets constricted. And but now people recognizing the fact that we do need more supply. And and it's taken on a new kind of a new edge to it now. I think the security of supply also becomes another key element in the conversation. And I don't know, for us working in North America, I think we have a real advantage, and you earn a premium on the stock market if your projects are not only good but in the right location.
Yeah, those are great points. And I guess it's great to chat with you and get your thoughts. I mean, we're right in the middle of this whole, battery metal electrification thing. And, I think, as I told you, I was recently in Kathmandu in Nepal for the 3 weeks that I was there. Just about every single night, and it depends which hotel you're in, but the power would go out at least once. And in some cases, 3 or 4 times, and it wouldn't go out for a long time, but it just sort of, again, highlights to me it just the massive amount of power that this world is using, and that nuclear obviously is going to have to be a key part of that. And I think, one of the point I wanted to bring across to investors is, don't forget about uranium. I mean, everybody's talking about cobalt and lithium and, and different types of assets. And I think uranium is going to be a key part of the green solution, if you will, from an energy point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make a quick point on that. The cobalt, nickel, and zinc, and these elements are all part of the battery power, which is how you store electricity. But to generate electricity, that's where the uranium comes in. So it's really at the front end. Otherwise, if you're generating electricity on fossil fuels, on coal-generated power plants, on natural gas, and then converting it and storing your electricity in the batteries, you're sort of defeating half of the equation on clean energy. You need to generate it clean to begin with, then you want to store it and use it. So there's really it just depends where you're at in the chain, but these are all critically important commodities that you're talking about here today.
So that's kind of the portion I wanted to talk about on the battery metal electrification. And I guess the other thing I just wanted to chat a little bit about is just sort of what you're seeing globally in terms of, the investing world. I mean, Ross and I have both been investors, personally for many, many years. And, I guess we've got a lot of talk about, potential recessions. We've got a lot of talk about, worrying about the governments and, a lot of commentary out there about economic bail-ins and, put all your money in silver and, gold. And, just talk about how you see the world over the next, number of years. And, I'm a big fan of finding good quality assets, good quality companies, investing in real companies, and just thought I'd see what your state of the world is.
Yeah, well, I think we're touching on the right issues here, which is, looking for commodities that are, all part of the clean, green energy solution. But I think what's really come to the forefront, particularly over the last 2 months or so, in the being front page news, is location. So jurisdiction, what I often find when we're talking to investors is jurisdiction is quickly becoming one of the top criteria that you measure on the risk level. Geology is a wonderful thing. You get fantastic deposits all over the world, and I've gone all over the world looking at a number of great projects. I think we're seeing a premium on projects. Well, I don't know. In the maybe particularly in the Western world, not strictly so, but in the Western world right now, say in uranium, a lot of uranium comes out of Russia, and a lot of it, the majority of uranium at the mine level comes out of Kazakhstan, which is associated with Russia. So you have some issues on security, potential security of supply, particularly when we're talking sanctions and, where these things end up. But, I think that it does, at least in that sector, in that part of the world, it's important to be, location, which is why I'm pretty comfortable, certainly on the Fission side, focusing on Saskatchewan and the Athabasca Basin. You have, favored trading status. As Canadians, we've got the largest consumer of the goods that we produce on our, just to the south of us in the United States. So it is pretty important, and I think there will always be a place for, first of all, top-notch projects, but jurisdiction, is certainly in some of these key commodities is certainly a part of the equation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess a little bit of a plug for a couple of the companies that we're both involved in. Then just to end off our interview, one of course would be Fission. Fission Uranium, I think is a very well known, company. You've been the president for I don't know how long you've been sort of leading the ship, and I think investors should be well aware that. Fission Uranium, which trades in the Toronto Stock Exchange, is one that investors should look at. And the other one is SKRR. SKRR is a smaller, more junior company compared to the main Fission. But, Ross, maybe just give us a little highlight on SKRR. And I know that you're working on we're both involved with SKRR on a very exciting zinc asset called Watts Lake. And I think we'll just end with your comments on some bigger picture comments on Fission, uranium, and SKRR.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of it's coming back to the conversation on where these things are at. Fission operates in Saskatchewan. SKRR has managed to accumulate a really, really impressive portfolio of precious metal and base metal projects in Saskatchewan. And, Saskatchewan, again, getting back to the point on jurisdiction, if you look at Saskatchewan, it's consistently ranked in the top tier mining jurisdictions, mining investment jurisdictions in the world. The Fraser Institute, it's generally rated, in their annual surveys, they rate Saskatchewan in the top 5. I think in 2020, the Mining Journal called Saskatchewan the #1 jurisdiction globally for mining investment. It's a real, it's just a treasure trove of world-class assets, and it isn't just uranium. There's gold, there's world-class multi-million ounce high-grade gold operations. There's the Flin Flon area, which is on the Saskatchewan-Manitoba border, one of the world premier VMS districts. It's been operating for decades, producing copper and gold byproducts. I mean, they're fantastic areas. And so I'm pretty comfortable operating and working in Saskatchewan. We, keep our eyes out for excellent opportunities, be they in precious metals, be they in base metals. I think that, it's good when nobody really understands. Maybe there hasn't been any major nickel mining, nickel discoveries in Saskatchewan, but there can be, and there will be. Rio Tinto is now involved in the hunt for nickel in Saskatchewan. So now you're starting to get the major top tier mining companies involved in Saskatchewan. They understand the potential for nickel in Saskatchewan. SKRR has picked up a property called Father Lake, which is just to the northeast of where Rio Tinto is hunting. So, and looking at the exact same rocks. And in fact, we have high-grade nickel mineralization. You can see it in the trenches on surface. There's some drill holes there that back up and confirm those results. So, we think that nickel is certainly ripe for a major discovery in that part of the world. And the other metal that I kind of like outside of the precious metals is zinc. We have a recently acquired property called Watts Lake. Watts Lake has a historic resource on it. You're looking at a trend that's about 4 or 5 kilometers long. It's already, internally it was defined as a deposit. There's just been some tremendous high grade zinc and silver numbers that have come out of the Watts Lake property. And, I think once we get up and starting to drill on that property, I think it's just a matter of time to convert it into a 43-101 compliant deposit that is very open-ended, not only along strike, but at depth. And, I think I'm just really excited about it. When I think of zinc, the price of the zinc commodities, it's at 16-year highs right now. It's trading close to $2 a pound US. It's on an upward trajectory. It's moving, lockstep with all the other clean battery metals commodities. It's going the right way. So we're really excited about not only what we have for precious metals, but also on the base metal side.
That's great. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up, Ross. And for all of our listeners, what a great last 10 minutes or so, or whatever it's been. It's been Ross McElroy. He's the president and chief executive officer of Fission Uranium. He's also the chairman and co-founder of SKRR. And you don't get a chance that often to hear it from someone with Ross's pedigree. So thanks so much, Ross, for taking the time. And I'm sure investors are going to be Googling Saskatchewan and after this interview. So thanks a lot.
Thanks, Sherman. And well, they should. The last comment I'll make there is they really should be paying attention to the province of Saskatchewan and looking at it not just on the uranium and the potash that everybody's aware of, but gold, absolutely, and other base metals, nickel, zinc, and copper.
Right on. Well, we've created our objective. We're now investing with more awareness. So thanks a lot, Ross.
Thank you.